Spark is a great technology because allows the data science or the data engineer to have a lot of machines that do a lot of work and to have data available in a really quick phase. The problem with Spark is that if we need to create a cluster, if we need to manage the cluster, that requires essentially a full-time position. We need a person that full-time checks the cluster and works on the cluster, and that can be really inefficient and expensive. So Databricks allows the data scientist or the data engineer to just forget about all this setup work that needs to be done beforehand. With essentially one click, you can just deploy the cluster and start the cluster and start working with it without really bothering about anything else other than the code that you are writing. Another really good feature, it's monitoring. The monitoring feature that it's available in Databricks. It's really easy to drill down from the cluster to the worker and understanding how the worker is performing, if the CPU is enough, how much input-output is going on, and essentially understanding if our system is performing as it is supposed to. And if it's not, we can of course go in and act and try to understand why that's not the case. And another thing that is really powerful, in my opinion, is the ability of assigning cluster to pools. That's something that Databricks allows us to do. A pool is essentially a set of machines that are already warm. They are not. You don't need to wait for the cluster to start from scratch. There are already some machines that are started, and we can just attach the cluster to those machines. So usually to start a cluster, it takes some minutes, 5 minutes, it depends on the type of cluster, but using the pool functionality, we can reduce considerably the starting time for the cluster. And that's something that if you manage the cluster by yourself, of course you can do, but it requires more time to implement and more money to support this type of solution.